What's going on, good people? This video, I'm going to redo the presentation that I gave to a group of students about how to set up a Christmas light show. Did this light show, build everything out within like a month and a half. So by the normal light show standards, that's pretty aggressive, especially starting from nothing and then building sequences and wiring everything up. But I wanted to cover that. So if you have any students that are interested in light shows and animations, you can have them watch this video. Let's get into it. This video will, for this presentation, if you want to actually read the notes or the slides, if you will, that came with this presentation, I'll have a link down to that in the description below. You can also check out my website, thealmostengineer.com, which will have a link to this presentation on there. To begin with how I built this Christmas light show, it all started, everything was centered around the control box. This is a picture of what the house looked like. This is not every light turned on, but this is majority of the lights that are that I had up turned on. For the December 2020 show, I had 2,130 LED lights using 16 channels, and it took about a month and a half to build the show. So that's the sequences, to wire up the control box, to get all the parts in, everything else. And that made a show of about 15 minutes. So the next part of this was the hardware. So this is a photo of the control box. The control box has a power coming in. It contains all of the relays that are used in the show. It also plays the audio and controls the audio and has the output connections. So there is the power here. These two black lines comes in to this box here. So you have one of the black lines come to this outlet, and then there's another outlet over here. These two black transformers go to the Raspberry Pi and the FM transmitter so that the music can be played from, what the person that's driving up can watch it from their car and can hear the music in sync with the lights. The Raspberry Pi is where all the intelligence is at for the show. So everything is done from playing the music, controlling the lights, the show schedule. So when it starts, when it stops, posting the song information to Twitter, all of that is done from that Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is connected to the internet via Wi-Fi. It's just using my house Wi-Fi to get to post the song information, and that's also how I'm able to do administration of the Pi while it's in use. Also, you have the relays here. So the Pi controls the relays, and the relays essentially turn on and off each of the Christmas lights per the sequencing file. The Christmas lights that I'm using are just the standard off-the-shelf Christmas lights that you can get at any big box store, that you would normally put on like your Christmas tree or anywhere else. So here's a closer look of the Raspberry Pi and the FM transmitter. So here are the GPIO connections, and each of these wires go to a relay board. The relay board is, there's actually 3 relay boards in this setup, but for the December 2020 show, I only used 2 relay boards because each relay board has 8 channels, and as I mentioned before, I use 16 channels for the entire show. So 16 divided by 2 gives, well, 16 divided by 8 gives you 2, so that's 2 relay boards. But in future shows, I will be using all 24 channels, or at least that's the intent, is to use all 24 channels. So here we have the audio cable. It comes out of the Raspberry Pi and into the FM transmitter. The Raspberry Pi does have a volume control on the audio as well as the FM transmitter, so I can make some adjustments to the volume level. I can't really make many adjustments to the bass and treble unless I take that music file and put it into a audio editing software program. This FM transmitter does not transmit far. Depending on the vehicle that you're using, it may stretch from 4 or 5 houses away from my house, so it's not very far. And then you also have to take into the geography of where your house is. If your house is the top house on a hill, that signal will travel further. If your house is in a valley, then it won't travel as far. And then also you can move the antenna up. So if that antenna sits high, that signal will travel further. There's a limitation with using these FM transmitters, because you're supposed to, if you're transmitting on a radio frequency, you're supposed to have a license from the FCC. However, if you're doing low power transmission, is like really, they do have the FCC does have a classification for low power signals, but this is like really low power, so you don't need a license for that. All right, next we have the solid state relays. These relays have no moving parts. A relay, in the simplest of terms, is a switch that is controlled by something else that is electronic. So essentially, the Raspberry Pi sends an electrical signal to the relay board, and depending on which wire that signal is sent to, it corresponds to a relay, and that relay is then switched on. As I mentioned, this is silent operation. It has no moving parts, so it doesn't make any noise. Like, it literally just turns on and off and you wouldn't hear it. And each relay has a connection to an outlet. That's essentially how the lights are switched on and off, is that they're controlling the outlets, thus controlling the lights. The software that is used to create the show is X-Lights. There are alternatives such as Vixen and Lightorama, but X-Lights is pretty common, and it seemed to be more supported and more versatile than the other two are. When you set up your show in X-Lights, you have we create a sequence, and you basically tell the lights when to turn on and when to turn off. By dragging them on your timeline, and you import your music in. So your music file is represented up here, and you just go through each set of lights to turn on and off as you choose. Now you have the ability to be able to switch a group of lights on together, or you can switch a individual light on by itself. I use a combination of both individual and groups of lights to create my show. The software that runs on the Raspberry Pi is called the Falcon Pi Player. It is free to use, so if you want to set up your own light show, you can go and download that and install it onto your Raspberry Pi. It reads the file that is created in X-Lights. It's called a sequence file, and that sequence file has the data of when the light should turn, what light should turn on, and when it should turn on. It also plays the music, and you use this to schedule your shows. So what time it start, what time should it end, as also what time or what song should be played together. So you create a playlist for that purpose. And this is considered to be, in the technical terms of when you create a light show, this is considered to be a controller item. Next part that I have is the updates to Twitter. So I created a custom .NET Core application that will interface with the Falcon Pi Player API, and that API you can get the status information as well as the song information from that API. And so what it does is it checks the song to see what is currently playing, and once it detects that the song has changed from the previous check, then it will go and gather that additional information. It will construct a tweet, and then it will post to Twitter that song information using the Twitter API. There is a library, a .NET Core library that is called Tweet Envy, that is used to interact with Twitter. And here is a screenshot of what that will look like on Twitter. So you have the playing, and then the name of the song, and by the artist, and in parentheses is the album information if it is available, and what time that check was performed. The reason why the time is included in these tweets, so Twitter has a limitation that you have to have, each tweet is theoretically supposed to be unique, and you can't post the same tweet twice. So the way they do that, they look at the text of what's in that the text of the tweet and compare it to your last tweet as well as prior tweets. And if they see you tweeting the same thing over again, then it won't allow you to post it. So by adding the time all the way down to the seconds, it will make that tweet more unique and less likely to be a duplicate of the most recent tweet or a prior tweet. And then last but not least, I have a video of the light show on my YouTube channel here. A link to that will be down in the description so you can watch it. So that pretty much recaps this particular presentation that I did for a group of students on how to set up a Christmas light show. If you have any questions about anything on this particular presentation, feel free to drop a comment down in the comment section below. If you have questions about the light show in general, you can also drop a comment down in the comment section below. If you have any if you want to learn more about how to set up a light show, be sure to watch this entire series. A playlist for all of these Christmas light show information will be created and also linked down in the description. So please give this video a thumbs up. Also be sure to subscribe. New videos each week on Saturday and Tuesday. And until next time, peace out.